Ever since Billy Carson's debate with Wes Huff, his life seems to have spiraled out of control. And just a couple days ago, something unexpected happened.
Then I got really upset and I made that video, and my whole team was counting on me to make a good response video. My wife and my kid were counting on me to make a good response video, and I failed. I didn't make a good video.
Did they see it before it went out?
It was live.
Oh.
It was live.
Billy sat down with Dr. Daniel Amen to confront his trauma from the whole situation. So, was this the breakthrough that Billy needed, or is he still stuck in the same cycle? Let's find out. Now, to be honest, the interview didn't start off well. Right away, Billy starts making excuses and blaming others.
I felt kind of ambushed. I didn't feel like it was a situation that was properly set up for me to appear in. I was sick. I had just gotten over pneumonia. I was in pneumonia state still. I was still in the healing process. I had just gotten released from the hospital. I had a near-death experience, and I felt like someone took advantage of me. And I was trying to get my word in, but the way it was being run, it wasn't a fair conversation. I felt like I was being overrun. I felt like my voice hadn't been heard, and that every time I did have something important to say, the person on the other end would have a technical difficulty. And after it happened like 5 times, I got really frustrated and I walked out.
Now, it's completely valid that he felt that way. No one can tell someone else how to feel. But the truth is, these excuses aren't helping him because they don't address the core issue, and they're only making things worse for him both socially and psychologically. For example, Billy continuously focuses on why he did poorly during the debate. But the criticisms ultimately weren't even about the debate. They were about the facts that he got wrong during the debate that he's been repeating for years, long before sickness or tech issues were even factors.
They say, well, Jesus was crucified.
Whoa.
Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible.
So he still seems to be missing the point. What people wanted, including Billy's fans, was simple. They just wanted for Billy to humbly own his mistakes and move on. But so far in this conversation, it seems like Billy still hasn't done so, as he says things like this.
So, we took the video down, but by then obviously everybody already copied it and made clips out of it and edited it in ways that made it look even worse than what it really was, to make it sound like I was being more general to the world, not just to the people that had attacked me. And the fact that the people that were using this content and putting it out really had skewed a lot of the truth and made some statements I don't personally feel were accurate.
But by now, we've all seen the entire live stream where Billy definitely said things that came off as attacks on Christians and the God of the Bible.
What is the sadistic narcissist? Let's take a look at some of the traits and see if we can compare them to this quote-unquote God of the Bible.
So when Billy continues to make excuses or to shift the blame, they don't help Billy socially, nor do they help him personally. Ultimately, for Billy, the reason why this doesn't help him psychologically is because the real issue isn't the debate. It's a problem of ego, which is a trap that all of us fall into when we're not careful. And personally, I've struggled with this throughout my life more than probably even Billy has. The human ego is inherently self-centered and fragile. It's constantly comparing itself to others and seeking validation, either through pride, thinking too highly of yourself, or even in insecurity, thinking too low of yourself. In both cases, an inflamed ego keeps us overly focused on ourselves, and that's exhausting. It leads to dissatisfaction and pain, something that Billy seems to still be experiencing in a very public way. You see, ever since the debate, Billy has seemed to be overly invested in defending himself, leading to things only getting worse, especially after that disastrous live stream, which still brings him pain.
And my whole team was counting on me to make a good response video. My wife and my kid were counting on me to make a good response video, and I failed. I didn't make a good video.
Did they see it before it went out?
It was live.
Oh.
It was live. Yeah.
Now, I will say that it's good to see Billy acknowledge that he didn't do a good job responding and acknowledging that he let people down, including his family. I think that this could be a big step in the right direction. However, him acknowledging this makes his following comments about Mark, the host of the debate, even more confusing.
I saw this guy the other night at our restaurant that we go to, and it's inside of our community. So I'm bound to bump into this guy every now and then. He's just sitting there, and I'm going, how can this guy just sit there and know that he put my family in such a bad situation? How can he sit there and eat a meal, That just got me even more frustrated and more angry. It's like, how can somebody even do something like that? Because I would never do something like that, not in a million years.
Now, I could completely understand how he would feel about his relationship with Mark and how he could feel betrayed since Mark made the video public. And by the way, I would also recommend that you hear Mark's side of the story, which I've linked down below. So at some level, Billy feeling hurt can be understandable, but it still seems that he's only focusing on the pain that he experienced and not the pain that he caused others, like Mark and his family, who also received death threats from this situation. And by the way, let's just be clear. Anyone threatening Mark or Billy is completely in the wrong. And if they're Christians, there's absolutely no excuse for it. But this theme of Billy only focusing on his hurt only seemed to get worse and worse as the discussion went on.
But now I still feel a little bit more triggered again that other people are entertaining without question, without researching, without looking into anything, this particular side of a story and giving it popularity, which I just don't think is fair.
All right, now to be fair to Billy, this over-focus on personal hurt and validation isn't unique to Billy. It's something that we all wrestle with when we're stuck in pain. Naturally, we all derive our sense of self-worth from others' opinions or our own performance. And this is why Paul reminds us in 1 Corinthians that neither others' judgments nor even our own self-judgments ultimately matters. For Christians, only God's opinion ultimately matters, and in Christ, God declares us righteous. And so if we internalize this, then we're freed from the exhausting need to seek approval from others or fear of their criticism. And this is important because failing to do so will often lead to the same emotions that Dr. Amen believes Billy is experiencing right now.
Now I want you to go back in time to the first time you felt this sense of rage, panic, betrayal. Because that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing rage. Panic is it's like a public shaming with forethought and betrayal.
Now, Dr. Amen's observations highlight a deeper issue, the exhausting and destructive cycle of seeking validation from others. And it's not just rage. Ever since the debate, Billy seems to be stuck in a lot of negative emotions: betrayal, sadness, disappointment, and anger. And none of these feelings are wrong to have, but they seem to be consuming him.
Yeah, I felt like you ever get so angry that there's nothing you can do to get the anger out. There's nobody you can grab. There's nobody you can yell at. You can't get, because they're so far, they're spread out. You can't get in anybody's face. And so the only form of attack I had was my own mouth.
So it seems to me that all of these emotions that Billy has been feeling all stem from a constant need to be right and to justify himself. But this cycle is only compounding Billy's pain, leading to pent-up anger that eventually erupts as rage. And unfortunately, I think that Dr. Amen's response to this might have unintentionally made things worse when they started talking about Billy's alleged near-death experience. I mean, listen to what Billy said.
I closed my eyes. And when I closed my eyes, I was in another place. And this place was so tranquil and so peaceful. It was like an explorer's dream. It was jungles and terrain and mountains and hills. And I was like, this is crazy. I know my eyes are closed, but my eyes are open and I'm in no pain. And then I forced my eyes open and I was back in my body. It wasn't a specific person that walked up to me, but it was like they were translating to me, you can stay here if you want, but if you go back, it's going to be very hard. And I would be at total peace for eternity, and I wouldn't have any pain, any worries, any issues. It was an easy decision to stay. I chose the harder decision to come back, and I actually tried to go back again. Couldn't get there. But that knowing of that peace and that transitional force with that energetic divine, whatever it was, I just felt like when you die, you're just moving from one density to another, and where you're going, this movement or this transition, it's instantaneous, and there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's just a natural process.
Okay, and here's why I think that Dr. Amen accidentally made it worse. He responded by referencing a documentary about near-death experiences.
It's about near-death experiences, but 23% of them are bad.
Oh, no.
And it tends to go with people that are not doing the right things with their life.
Oh, wow.
So at least for you, you can go, have confidence. And the people who portrayed you, maybe there's a little retribution. So maybe you can take some peace in some of the retribution.
Okay, so what exactly is wrong with what Dr. Amen said? Well, leaving personal theological issues aside for now, Dr. Amen's comment may have inadvertently reinforced Billy's feelings of moral superiority. By framing Billy to be better than those that he believed betrayed him, it indirectly gives Billy justification to hold on to his anger and bitterness. In order to stay bitter, you have to feel superior to the person who wronged you. So if Billy believes what Dr. Amen said, then he can look at Mark and think, I would never betray someone like that. I have every right to be mad because I'm morally better than him. This mindset will only keep Billy trapped. Feeling better than others can't free you from bitterness, it only deepens it. Billy feeling hurt and betrayed are feelings that all of us have experienced. So the problem isn't the feeling themselves. Instead, it's that Billy lacks the tools and resources to break the cycle. Resources that are rich in Christianity. The only way out of this cycle of anger, and the growing anger that comes from self-justification, is to start by taking personal accountability, which is a lot easier if you believe that you're a sinner who's only saved by God's free and undeserved gift of salvation. I mean, think about it. No matter how hard that we've tried, we failed God, which means that we can't be saved by our moral performance, no matter how spiritual that we are. And knowing that we aren't saved because we're better than anyone else, including the worst of all sinners, but only by God's grace, humbles us and frees us to confront our faults honestly. We know that our salvation doesn't depend on us being perfect, so we're free from having to hide or excuse our mistakes. And by the way, since we've received such amazing grace from Christ, it becomes a lot easier for us to extend that same grace to others as well. Ultimately, if you feel like you're being controlled by what others think and it's driving you crazy and making you mad, then we can learn from the gospel that true freedom doesn't come from thinking less of yourself, but only of thinking of yourself less. Instead of inflating or deflating our ego, the gospel frees us from needing to think much about ourselves at all. In Christ, we're already fully loved and accepted by God, so there's really no need to prove ourselves through achievements or fear failure. And it's this security that enables us to focus instead on others and God rather than ourselves. So the truth is, Billy's struggles aren't unique. All of us have moments where our egos get the best of us, where we feel the need to defend and justify ourselves and our actions. But the gospel offers a way out. So the only real question is, are we ready to let go of our pride and rest in the freedom that Christ offers? You tell me. So let's continue to pray for Billy and not forget that we're ultimately no more worthy of salvation than he is. Of course, this doesn't mean that we should ignore where he's wrong, but it does mean that we should hope the best for him and love him as we love ourselves. Now, if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and hit the like button on your way out because it really does help us in the algorithm. And then for a really good book on how the gospel gives you the power to have self-forgetfulness, check out the links down below. All right, see you guys next time.